A massive new bridge is rising over the Detroit River, reshaping the skyline and the future of two nations. This is the Gordie Howe International Bridge, a $4.8 billion engineering marvel that will soon link Windsor, Ontario and Detroit, Michigan. Designed to be one of the longest cable-stayed bridges in North America, it promises to transform the way people and goods move between Canada and the United States. For decades, the border here has been a symbol of partnership and seamless trade. But today, the bridge finds itself at the heart of rising tension and economic conflict between the US and Canada, as both countries grapple with shifting political and economic priorities. The new bridge was envisioned to relieve the aging, overburdened Ambassador Bridge, which has long served as the busiest commercial crossing in North America. It was meant to guarantee the uninterrupted flow of goods and people for generations to come, supporting jobs and prosperity on both sides of the border. Yet, as construction nears completion, a new trade war has cast a long shadow over its promise. Tariffs, border slowdowns, and political disputes threaten to undermine the very benefits the bridge was built to deliver. Now the bridge's fate is tied to high-stakes negotiations between Washington and Ottawa. Leaders on both sides are under pressure to protect their economies, even as they try to preserve decades of cross-border cooperation. The question remains, will this bridge become a superhighway for commerce and renewed friendship, or will it stand as a monument to a lost era of trust and collaboration? The answer depends on the outcome of this economic battle, and on the willingness of both nations to find common ground in a time of uncertainty. For now, the Gordie Howe International Bridge stands as both a symbol of deep integration and a stark warning of the risks and challenges now facing both countries as they navigate an uncertain future. The trade crisis escalated dramatically in March 2025, when President Trump announced a sweeping 25% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum. The announcement came during a tense White House press conference, sending shockwaves through both political and economic circles. For decades, the US and Canada had enjoyed a close trading relationship, with industries on both sides of the border deeply intertwined. This sudden move shocked industries on both sides, especially the auto sector, which relies on tariff-free cross-border supply chains to keep production running smoothly. Automakers, parts suppliers, and logistics companies scrambled to assess the impact, fearing higher costs and major disruptions to their just-in-time manufacturing systems. By July, tensions had only intensified. President Trump threatened a sweeping 35% tariff on all Canadian imports, from cars and machinery to maple syrup and lumber. The threat was not just economic, it was a signal that the trade relationship itself was at risk. The rhetoric on both sides grew increasingly aggressive, with threats to cripple Canada's auto industry and even wild suggestions of annexation making headlines. Protests erupted at factories and political rallies drew crowds worried about jobs and national pride. The administration cited national security and trade deficits as justification, but the move triggered a global backlash. The European Union quickly announced counter-tariffs, and international leaders voiced concern about the growing instability in global trade. For businesses, these tariffs disrupt the highly integrated North American economy, raising costs, creating delays, and forcing companies to rethink their supply chains. Many small and medium-sized businesses faced uncertainty about their future, as cross-border trade became more complicated and expensive. The Budget Lab at Yale estimated these policies could cost the average American family over $2,700 a year. That's not just a number. It means higher prices at the grocery store, more expensive cars, and tighter household budgets for millions of families. Tariffs are more than just headlines or political talking points. They're attacks on every crossing, every shipment, and every product that moves between the US and Canada. For ordinary people, it means life gets more expensive, one purchase at a time. The economic reality is stark, and the stakes are higher than ever. As the Great Tariff Wall of 2025 rises, the future of North American trade and the livelihoods of millions hangs in the balance. Border communities feel the trade war's impact most. Here, the effects are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're visible in every empty storefront and silent street. For generations, these towns thrived on cross-border commerce, with families and businesses deeply intertwined on both sides. In New York, tourism has plummeted. Canadian visitors dropped 21% in June 2025, leaving shops and hotels empty. Once bustling outlet malls and family-run motels now struggle to stay afloat, their parking lots and lobbies eerily quiet. Local economies that once relied on a steady stream of Canadian shoppers and vacationers are now facing a harsh new reality. The Rainbow Bridge and Champlain Port of Entry saw crossings fall by 26%. These iconic gateways, once symbols of friendship and prosperity, now stand as reminders of what's been lost. The drop in traffic ripples through every sector, from retail to restaurants to transportation. A weaker Canadian dollar, retaliatory tariffs, and national pride keep Canadians at home. Many now choose to spend their money domestically, avoiding the extra costs and uncertainty of cross-border shopping. The sense of connection between neighbors is fraying, replaced by caution and hesitation. For American businesses, the summer has been disastrous. Owners watch as regular customers vanish, and seasonal workers face layoffs. The ripple effect extends to suppliers, delivery drivers, and even local farmers, who once sold produce to border restaurants. Michigan, with $77 billion in annual trade with Canada, faces grim projections. 13,000 jobs could vanish if the trade war drags on. The uncertainty is palpable, with workers and business owners alike fearing for their futures. The auto industry's integrated supply chains are at risk of unraveling. Factories on both sides depend on a constant flow of parts and vehicles, and even a brief disruption can halt production, costing millions. Bridges and tunnels reliant on tolls now face financial strain as traffic drops. These vital links, built to connect communities and economies, are suddenly underused and underfunded. The Peace Bridge Authority and others must maintain infrastructure with shrinking revenue. Deferred maintenance and budget cuts threaten the safety and reliability of these crossings, compounding the region's challenges. The tools of trade are being starved by the very lack of trade they were built to support. Warehouses sit idle, and logistics companies scramble to adapt to the new normal. This is not just an economic downturn, it's a vicious cycle threatening entire communities. As businesses close, jobs disappear, and families are forced to move away, the social fabric of these towns begins to unravel. The border, once a lifeline, is now a pressure point, its silence echoing the uncertainty and hardship faced by those who call these communities home. Canada, under new Prime Minister Mark Carney, has responded with resolve. Carney's government imposed retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, targeting key electoral states: bourbon, oranges, cheese. The aim pressure American politicians to push for de-escalation. Ottawa is also pivoting, seeking new trade deals with the EU and UK to reduce dependence on the US. A wave of Canadian nationalism has surged, with citizens supporting local businesses despite higher prices. Carney's tough stance enjoys strong public backing. Strategic concessions like Ontario suspending a tariff on electricity have occasionally eased tensions, but the core dispute remains, and the Buy Canadian movement is reshaping the country's economic identity. Canada is betting on resilience and diversification in a new era of uncertainty. The Gordie Howe Bridge was built to solve a critical problem: over-reliance on the aging, privately owned Ambassador Bridge. Its 6 lanes and modern customs plazas were meant to secure trade for the 21st century. Now, the bridge's mission is more urgent than ever. If the trade war ends, pent-up demand will surge. Only this new bridge can handle it. But if tariffs persist, traffic and revenue could fall short, turning a $4.8 billion investment into a cautionary tale. The bridge's financial success is tied to the health of US-Canada trade. Supporters see it as a bet on long-term partnership. Critics fear it's a relic of a lost era. The bridge is ready, but its future depends on political will, not just engineering. It stands as both a lifeline and a gamble. The USMCA trade pact, which replaced NAFTA, currently shields most goods from new tariffs. But a sunset clause requires a major review in 2026, giving the US leverage to demand new concessions or threaten withdrawal. This looming review injects deep uncertainty for businesses making long-term investments. Why build a factory in Ontario if the trade rules could vanish in a year? The Gordie Howe Bridge now symbolizes this risk, its fate tied to the stability of the USMCA. North America faces 2 paths: renewed cooperation or disintegration into tariffs and barriers. The 2026 review will decide if the bridge becomes a vital artery or a lonely monument. The stakes for the continent's prosperity could not be higher. The future of trade and the bridge hangs in the balance. Businesses and workers are left waiting for clarity. The Gordie Howe International Bridge is more than infrastructure. It's a metaphor for the US-Canada relationship. Built for unity, it now rises in an age of division and economic anxiety. Its empty lanes could become a costly symbol of failed diplomacy and lost opportunity. The bridge highlights how quickly political decisions can devastate communities. Ultimately, it's a bet on the future renewed partnership or deepening division. As the final pieces are set, the bridge waits, a silent question mark over North American trade. Will it fulfill its promise or stand as a monument to a fractured era? The answer will shape the continent for decades to come.